Arbitrum is seeing one hell of a resurgence in its DeFi ecosystem with the amount of money being put on chain in its DeFi applications or decentralized applications. Now, Arbitrum is one of the leading layer 2s. It has $4.2 billion in TVL. And I was going through the Ethereum ecosystem and I wanted to see how money was moving across the various layer 2s. And to set the table for the conversation, I also took a look at Base that has $5.6 billion and is the largest layer 2 on Ethereum. And I took a look at Polygon with $1.18 billion to see who was getting strength, who might be showing a little bit of weakness, if it was a mixed bag, and if various applications that happen to use all three of these were preferring or favoring one over the other. And the first thing that jumped out to me was that Arbitrum has been growing a lot over the past month. These are the DeFi applications on Arbitrum behind me here, and on the right is the percentage growth that the amount of money going into these applications has seen on Arbitrum. Aave up 9.3%, Uniswap up 100%, USDAI, the stablecoin, up 219%, Pendle up 205%. So the tokenization of real-world assets on Arbitrum seems to be in a very good spot. Fluid up 34%. Morpho up 220%, which is very impressive given the fact that Morpho's true home is Base. For it to grow that much in Arbitrum is very, very impressive. Base is also seeing a lot of growth, 24% for Morpho, 18% for Aave, 48% for Spark, so on and so forth, 800% for Stakehouse Financial. And with Base being the largest layer 2, this is phenomenal growth, right? But you can see there's not as many triple figure growth figures here on Base as there has been on Arbitrum over the past month. And then for Polygon, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag, but you see Uniswap doing great, up 43%. Polymarket, the marketing darling, if you will, of the Polygon space with adoption amongst consumers, up 9%, but it is more of a mixed bag for sure for the DeFi ecosystem within Polygon. And so you may have noticed something that I did when I was looking at that, which is that, Aave, Uniswap, Morpho, Fluid are on all three of these layer 2s. So I took these screenshots, threw them into ChatGPT, and asked it to make a matrix here to show us which is winning the most right now against the others. And starting off with Aave, we're seeing growth across all three, but really we're seeing Base in first place. But otherwise, we like to see growth on all three. Then here for Uniswap, we're seeing Base really just at flat growth, which makes sense because the Base ecosystem favors Aerodrome over Uniswap within it. So totally makes sense that Uniswap's not growing a ton on Base. But we're seeing good growth for Polygon. Very good growth, but amazing growth here for Arbitrum. And then Morpho here, my knees, Morpho here growing 24% on Base, negative growth on Polygon, and up 227% on Arbitrum. So the growth on Arbitrum, like we said, amazing, but don't get it twisted. Morpho's home is Base. The amount of TVL here on Base is $2 billion. The amount of TVL here is $200 million, right? Very different size in terms of what we're talking about here, but this is growth that can't necessarily be ignored. And then lastly, we had Fluid, where Fluid is really favoring Arbitrum over any of the other layer 2s, which is interesting. Now, the reason why Arbitrum, in my opinion, is seeing this level of growth is probably because of the amount of people using it to get over to use Hyperliquid, because in order to use Hyperliquid, which, if you're unaware, it is the most popular decentralized perpetuals exchange in the world. They make $20 million a week right now in revenue from people using it. And in really just the past year, Hyperliquid has added about $4 billion onto Hyperliquid in terms of its TVL measurement, and people have to use Arbitrum to get there. So I think a lot of people are using Arbitrum to get to Hyperliquid, and this amount of money that's flowing to get from destination A to B makes some C and D and E and F and G side stops along the way within the Arbitrum ecosystem. That's why I think Arbitrum is getting such a large resurgence in its DeFi ecosystem, but it is very important as investors and traders to understand how and where money is moving and flowing within this crypto on-chain ecosystem so that we can potentially adjust our strategies and our portfolios to be able to be aligned with that money as well. And I do want to state that just because there is TVL growth on Arbitrum, TVL growth here on Hype and on other chains as well, does not necessarily mean the token is going to do well as well, but it does certainly help.